Muscle tissue is perhaps one of the more straightforward types of tissue because it's one that most people have heard of before. There are three types of muscle tissue: cardiac, skeletal, and smooth. And while they each have different functions and different structures, they do all have similarities. Some similarities are that they function for movement. So muscle tissue moves things. What it moves depends on which type of muscle tissue we're talking about, but it does move things. The way that it moves things is by shortening, pulling the ends closer together, which produces some sort of movement. It is able to contract in response to specific stimuli, which we will cover in depth in the muscular system unit. Each of the three types of tissue is found in a different spot, whether that's attached to bones, in the heart, or in the walls of other hollow internal organs. Again, these are the three types. We'll go through them one at a time, beginning with skeletal muscle. Skeletal muscle makes up our muscles. It is what we would normally think of as muscle tissue. Skeletal muscle tissue attaches to bones in order to move the body. Because our muscles are under conscious control, this is known as voluntary muscle tissue or voluntary muscles. We are able to choose to move them. Skeletal muscle tissue, as well as cardiac muscle tissue, have what are called striations. They're alternating light and dark bands. And you can see here it has this striped appearance. So these stripes run vertically in this picture. They run against the direction of the muscle fiber. So this is a muscle fiber or a muscle cell. You can see the striations go up and down. These are alternating light and dark bands. Here's the same picture, just a little bit bigger. In this picture, you can also see that the nuclei are not in the middle of a cell as you may be used to, but instead they're lined up along the edges. Moving on to smooth muscle tissue. Smooth muscle tissue is called smooth because it doesn't have striations. So you can see the muscle fibers run long ways, but there are no little lines going in the opposite direction. Smooth muscle is found in our hollow internal organs, and its movement is to move substances. So for example, smooth muscle is what moves food through your digestive tract. This is involuntary muscle. You cannot control how quickly food moves through your digestive tract, therefore it is involuntary. Here are two pictures of smooth muscle. You can see that there are no striations, but there are just long, thin muscle cells. Lastly, we have cardiac muscle tissue. Cardiac muscle tissue is found only in the heart. Cardiac refers to the heart, and it is under involuntary control. Similar to smooth muscle, we cannot control when our heart beats or how fast it beats. It responds to stimulus and does what it needs to, but we can't control it. Cardiac muscle's movement is to move blood. So it pumps blood through the heart chambers and it pumps it into the blood vessels. However, the blood vessels themselves are made of smooth muscle. So cardiac muscle makes up the heart, but the blood vessels are made of smooth muscle. When we look at a picture of cardiac muscle, we can see that it is striated, so it has these bands going opposite to the long muscle fibers. So in that way, it's similar to skeletal muscle. However, it's not in long parallel bundles. Instead, it forms this woven network that you can see, and I feel like you can see it a little bit better here where it's smaller. It's not parallel, it moves in lots of different directions. And so this enables the heart to beat not just in one direction, but to really squeeze and pump the blood out. So it constricts and contracts from all directions at the same time to move that blood. You can see here that the nuclei are in the middle of the cells as opposed to the skeletal muscle tissue. So if I were to give you 3 slides of muscle tissue, you would be able to look at each one and determine what type of muscle tissue it is. So you can see that skeletal and cardiac muscle both have striations. Smooth and cardiac muscle both have the nuclei in the middle of the cells, whereas skeletal muscle have many nuclei on the sides of the cells. Um, Skeletal muscle cells are long and straight, where smooth muscle cells are straight and long, but they have a little bit of a wave to them. And then cardiac muscle tissues are also long, but they branch. Skeletal muscle tissue moves bone. Smooth muscle tissue moves substances like blood or food. And cardiac muscle moves blood within the heart and out of the heart. And that is an overview of the different types of muscle tissue.